Having attended KeyForge Celebration 2022, I've had the privilege of getting to play with some Winds of Exchange decks prior to its official release date, and it is without a doubt one of my favorite sets so far. So today, I wanted to share with you guys 10 of my favorite cards from the new set. The only caveat is that I won't be including any token creatures in this list, since token creatures will be getting their own dedicated video later on. Without further ado, let's get into it. We'll start off with a couple cards from the new house, the Compacts of Equidon. First is the most recent iteration of the Shadows classic bait and switch, Closed Door Negotiation. It reads, play, your opponent draws a card, steal 1 Ember. If you do, and your opponent still has more Ember than you, trigger this effect again. Very similar to pre-errata bait and switch, though you probably won't get quite as many steals because of the Ember bonus, and your opponent gets to draw a card for every stolen Ember, giving them more and more of a chance to answer your play. It's a super powerful card, and at common, you'll be seeing it pretty often. Next, we've got a rare Equidon upgrade, Insurance Policy. It really does a fantastic job of forcing your opponent into a tough situation, reading, play, lose 1 Ember. This creature gains destroyed. If it is not your turn, gain 4 Ember. And that playability isn't even a must-lose either, like Troubadour. You can still play it even if you don't have any Ember. I also like how you'll only get the benefits of the destroyed effect if it's not your turn, so it relies entirely on your opponent taking it out, and it's not something you can really do on your own whenever you want. It helps balance it out a little and provide some interesting decision spaces, but it's still a really powerful card. And let's just say there are a ton of great targets to throw Insurance Policy on in this set, high-value creatures that your opponent absolutely needs to deal with, but will end up giving you 2/3 of a key if they act on it. Moving into Mars, we have a few cards, the first of which is Ironix Rebel. Ironix Rebel is actually a super versatile card, despite being limited to only readying its Mars neighbors when deployed. It allows for cards like Psychic Network to go off way more consistently than before, and potentially lets you use creatures like Xanthix Harvester and Yixlix Mesmerist on the turn you play them, or multiple times in a turn. It even synergizes with things like Yixel the Iron Captain and other cards oriented around the Ironix trait. It's classic Mars in that it's very Mars focused, beneficial exclusively to other Mars creatures, but still provides so much utility. I think it'll be a staple of Winds of Exchange Mars decks moving forward. Also in Mars is their take on Gateway to This, Kaboom. It reads, play, put each Mars creature into its owner's archives, destroy each creature, gain 3 chains. Save your Mars, destroy everything else. Also interesting about this card is that it will archive all your Mars token creatures as well, meaning whatever those cards were originally before being tokenized will end up in your archives. And I'm sure we'll see some strategy implemented there in some capacity. But in the end, Kaboom is just a really solid board wipe, and is a valuable asset to have. Next, we've got a Saurian card, the classic Epic Poem. Just about everyone is familiar with this card by now, a staple of Winds of Exchange Saurian, reading, play, exalt a friendly creature, gain 1 Ember for each Ember on that creature. There is a lot of exalting in this most recent iteration of Saurian, meaning Epic Poem synergizes in some extremely powerful ways, and with a lot of cards. It's possibly the card in Saurian that rewards you the most for your exalted friendly creatures, up there with the likes of Senator Brachus and Inspiring Oration. In multiples, it allows you to burst like crazy, gaining insane amounts of Ember instantaneously, and if you can race to your 3rd key using this card, faster than the opponent can deal with the creatures loaded up with all that exalted Ember, then you should be all set for victory. In Sanctum, we have another card that helps negate the drawback of exalted or captured Ember, and that is Katarina the Summoner. She reads, play, after reap, capture 1 Ember. Destroyed, make a token creature for each Ember on Katarina the Summoner. She's especially potent if you have a really good token creature, like Prospector or Emberling, and if you can load Katarina up with captured Ember, you can drop a ton of token creatures all at once. Sadly, they still enter play exhausted, but that sudden surge of board presence can be tough for your opponent to deal with. There's also a ton of capturing in this set, especially in Sanctum, meaning it shouldn't be all too difficult to make Katarina as effective as possible, and if your token creature is Cleric, you can just capture it all back. Next, we've got a Brobnar card that I've mentioned a few times already on this channel, Fresh Marks. It reads, play, destroy friendly creature. If you do, exalt 3 enemy creatures. Just dropping half a key's worth of Ember onto the opponent's side of the board is so strong, and with the consistent firepower Brobnar brings in this set, it shouldn't be all too difficult to get that Ember into your pool. Destroying a friendly creature isn't all too steep of a price either, and in some cases it even helps you. Whether you end up with 1 copy or multiple, Fresh Marks is certainly a force to be reckoned with. We've got 3 unfathomable cards to wrap up this video with, and the first of them is Abyssal Sight, another one of those actions with the price of destroying a friendly creature. It reads, play, destroy friendly creature. If you do, look at your opponent's hand and choose a card from it. That player discards that card. Your opponent has a critical combo piece in hand, or a key piece of Ember control or board control, just remove it from their hand entirely. It's the next step in the evolution of Brain Drain, this time not putting it back on top of their deck, but all the way into their discard pile, in a much harder to reach location. It's insane that it's a common, and it's the sort of card you will need to be scanning your opponent's deck list for every time you enter a Winds of Exchange match. However, it's still no lateral shift. The second unfathomable card is Dragnet, reading, play, return a creature and each neighbor that shares a house with it to their owner's hands. Dragnet is actually really versatile, and can be used in a number of ways. Obviously, it can be used to control the opponent's board, putting dangerous creatures into their hand and bypassing upgrades and destroy triggers, or you could use it to put one of your own token creatures back into your hand, being able to then use it as whatever it was before it was tokenized. It's going to be a really fun and versatile card to use, and makes a great addition to the Unfathomable house. Speaking of which, apparently Unfathomable just has all the truly fire cards in this set, because our last card for today is Timoti the Damned, reading, play, make a token creature. While you control a token creature, your opponent cannot forge keys. I mean, what the heck is this effect? If your deck spams token creatures or has any even decently effective way of protecting Timoti, it may be quite some time before your opponent actually gets to forge anything and make forward progress in the game, no matter how much Ember they generate. Ward it, taunt it, make lots of token creatures, or even control multiple copies of Timoti, which is a possibility, seeing as it's an uncommon, and your opponent will have to dedicate everything they've got to removing this abomination from the board. It's almost like a classic witch creature in regards to how dangerous it is. It's a card that'll be loved by the person who plays it, and despised by the person who has to deal with it. But for now, it's one of my favorites, and is the perfect card to wrap up this list. So there we have it, 10 of my favorite cards from Winds of Exchange so far. I can't wait to continue playing with these cards when the set truly releases, and learn their ins and outs even more, and probably develop some new favorites as I'm exposed to the set more. Let me know what you think of these cards in the comments below, and what your favorites are. Thank you all so much for watching, be sure to subscribe for more KeyForge content like this, and I can't wait to see you all again in the next one. See you later.